Malcolm X said the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. So are you prepared for your next big leadership move? That's the mission of the 19th Annual Women's Leadership Conference on August 31st and September 1st at the MGM Grand Conference Center. Unite with a community of women and men, all professionals committed to growing their skills, their influence, and their impact. So they're ready to step into new horizons in their careers. Because great leaders never stop thinking, learning, and evolving. They're made, not born. To attend this year's Women's Leadership Conference, visit fwle.org today.
Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we're asking whether or not it's time for some policy changes to make it harder for squatters in Las Vegas, bringing awareness to a local animal rescue that needs your help, and unlocking what could be your new favorite cheesesteak spot in town. It's Thursday, July 23rd. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. All right, today we're kicking it with our executive producer, Layla Muhammad, and Nevada Current editor, April Corbin-Gurnis. How you guys doing today?
Feeling great.
Good. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing well. We're kicking this one off today with a funny story that probably belongs on that TV show, like The Dumbest Criminals, I think it was. I think it stopped like a decade ago. I don't know, but this one would definitely make the cut. According to Scott Robin over at Vital Vegas, someone robbed the William Hill Sportsbook at the Virgin Hotels last week and made off with about $28,000, okay? But here's where things get stupid. The robber was a new employee of the sportsbook, and he put his mask on in one of the casino's restrooms, which on the surface doesn't sound like the stupidest move because casinos don't have cameras in bathrooms. Hopefully nobody does. But the thing is the camera caught him walking into the restroom and then caught him walking out of the restroom in the mask. Long story short, like it only took investigators 12 minutes to figure out who he was. And then get this, though. After completing the robbery, the next day, he showed back up to the sports book for work, which I guess, like, hey, I'm going to show up like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then they arrested him right away because it's like, dog, we know who you are. I mean, this has to be up there in terms of like one of the stupidest moves. I haven't heard something like this in Vegas. This is just hilarious, right?
Yeah, and if it was to happen anywhere, I'm not surprised it's happening at the Virgin Hotel. I feel like that, the location of that one, and just like the reputation it has, like, of course this is happening at the Virgin Hotel.
So don't worry, though. He had, according to that post, he had the money and the weapon and the mask with him. So he just
in his backpack when he came to work.
Just give it all back.
The evidence with him.
Do we think they just like took the money and put it back in the sports book, or like?
Yeah, like what was he? I would love to know the reasoning behind like bringing all the evidence back with you. Like what?
Yeah. Well, when that show comes back, this will be the first case.
So that one's definitely a laughing matter. One of those things that just kind of makes you scratch your head. Another thing that's not a laughing matter, but just a tricky situation in general is just dealing with squatters. It sounds like something that's on the rise all over the country, but hitting here in Las Vegas as well. Layla, what's the deal with what's going down with squatters in Vegas, and why is it kind of becoming so prevalent?
Yeah, well, if people remember, I think squatters became, I don't want to say popular, but a lot of people were talking about it in 2024. Fox 5 actually reported back then that there was an uptick of squatter activity in East Las Vegas. So this has kind of been in conversation for a while now. New York had a few high-profile squatter cases. But here in Las Vegas, a Wisconsin woman is speaking out after squatters took over her Las Vegas home. Her and her husband owned a townhome near East Viking Road in McLeod, which is not far from that East Las Vegas area where Fox 5 is saying that there's an uptick of squatter activity. But the homeowner and her husband moved to Wisconsin in 2024 after her husband was diagnosed with leukemia. Financial strain followed, the mortgage fell behind, and the home was briefly on a public foreclosure auction listing. The homeowner believes that that's how squatters found it. And by late June, neighbors told her that strangers were living in the house with people constantly coming and going. When police showed up, a woman using the name of TT, which anybody who has watched Love Island.
My mind went there. I was like, I was going to try and slide past that one.
I couldn't slide past it without thinking of Love Island. But anyway, not the same person, but a woman using the name TT produced a lease and utility bills in her name, claiming that she rented the property from a realtor that had the homeowner's husband's information, but the homeowners said that they never had any connection with her or her husband. TT also had prior criminal record involving burglary and identity-related offenses, which she said should not be taken into account in this situation, and that people with a past should not have that on their record when trying to, rent or buy a home or anything like that.
Fair enough with that, yeah.
Even with statements from the real realtor of the house and the homeowners association and her husband confirming the home was never up for rent, police said their hands were tied seeing those lease documents and utility bill. Since the squatter had paperwork, officers called it a civil matter, meaning the homeowner had to go through the courts and not the police to get her home back. And now that homeowner is pushing for change. She connected with Clark County Commissioner Tick Sagerbloom, who then connected with State Assemblywoman Venetia Considine. Local eviction experts and attorneys agree that there needs to be some kind of reform, which is interesting because Nevada actually has pretty great landlord-friendly laws when it comes to evictions, but squatters is kind of a tricky situation across the country.
Yeah, it's just so sad. Like, I couldn't imagine dealing with something like that. Like you said, like, it's something that drags on and, there's like thousands and thousands of dollars gone on, like fighting to try and get people out of your house. In some situations, in this one too, where like there was a death in the family or you're helping a sick loved one in your family and things like that. And it's like, to have to come back to stuff like that just sucks. And April, like one of the things that they mentioned in the story there is that loophole about the utilities that, the squatters are able to change the utilities, put it in their name, and then it essentially becomes like quote unquote proof to law enforcement that like, hey, no, we are living here illegally. So then it becomes that civil matter. At least that's the way a lot of law enforcement has approached it. Do you think fixing that loophole would make a big enough dent, or is there more to it than that?
I don't know. I mean, the police in that story in the RJ said that they produced utility bill, but they also produced a lease that said they lived there. And like the police's job is not to figure out whether or not that's true. So it's like even if you changed utilities so that only the owner of the house could have their name in the utility bill, then, or who could only change it or whatever, like they still might have a problem. It still might not close the entire loophole because people can still just produce a fake lease that says, hey, I own this. And the police are not going to be like, that's not their wheelhouse, right? And it sounds like an easy fix, like on the surface where you're like, oh yeah, of course the owner of the house should be able to approve that. But like how many people listening or in Vegas understand that landlords drag their feet on a lot of stuff? You know what I mean? So like,
it can suck sometimes,
It can suck sometimes. And also, people need their name in utility bills for a lot of reasons. They use them for, registering your kid for school and doing a lot of stuff. So it's kind of, and I'm not, I don't know that it's certainly an area that needs to be explored. And it sounds like there's wiggle room for protecting sort of everybody in the equation. But I just don't know that necessarily that particular fix is going to fix anything because there's a lot more to consider,
Yeah. It's a tricky situation all around. And again, like I like to your point there too, again, like helping enroll your kids in school, to verify, your location for the districts and things like that. Yeah, that makes it tough, I think, in a lot of places. So Layla, like maybe if that's not just the one like loophole, what are some things maybe that have worked in other states that have seen a step in the right direction? Or is this just kind of like a convoluted issue for everybody?
I think it's an issue for everybody. Arizona actually just passed a Senate bill that expedites the removal of unlawful occupants and distinguishes squatters from established tenants. So I think they're trying to put a move in the right direction there. That was just passed this year and not in effect yet. But it seems like everyone is trying to tackle this issue. Some states have stricter laws around adverse possession, which in this case is a little cloudy because they produce a lease and a utility bill. They definitely weren't there for 5 years, which is the law in Nevada to claim adverse possession, aka squatters' rights, some people call that. Some states have it up to 30 years for adverse possession. But I don't know. In this case, it's tricky. I'm hesitant to say that Metro should be able to verify leases because that just puts more on them. And I don't think it's always a police response to civil matters that should be taken first. So I think we need to attack maybe the deeper root of this issue, which is housing affordability, taking care of our houseless population, and providing more social services to stop people from getting to this point.
Yeah. And there is this concept of like a landlord registry where there are some people who believe that every person who has a rental property or a property that could be up for rent needs to have it sort of like registered so that they understand that. And something like that seems like it could solve the problem where then it would be easy to refer to who the actual occupant is, you know what I mean? And who the actual like landlord is. So then you could verify that, you know what I mean? Like there certainly could be a system that's in place. And I think what people need to remember when they hear this story is that when we hear squatters' rights or we hear squatters, sometimes people are thinking, oh, these people broke into a house and now they're living there and they're trying to do that when, and that does certainly happen and that's horrible and a crime, but it's probably equally as likely that somebody saw a Craigslist ad for a rental, rented it, and they're renting it from someone who broke into the house and did that. So they don't even know that they're breaking the law until the incident comes. And when you think about it through that lens, you're like, you do need to protect that person because they were a victim of a scam and it's not their fault necessarily. And we shouldn't make them homeless overnight because they were scammed by a third party who said, I'm not saying what happened in that particular case, but that is certainly a situation that happens and what, you know, legal aid and places like that, they'll come across situations like that. And we need to better protect everybody in that because those people are also victims. And so is the homeowner, but you know what I mean? So it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, there has to be a balance of protecting everybody involved, you know, in this situation. And again, one of those situations where I just really couldn't imagine having to deal with this. You know, and hopefully it's not something that continues to get worse and worse here in the Valley. With temperatures hitting triple digits, checking in on an aging parent or loved one becomes more than a nice gesture. It's about safety. Dehydration and heat exhaustion hit seniors fast, and a regular caregiver in-home means someone's actually there to notice the signs. And that's where Touching Hearts comes in. Touching Hearts at Home is a locally owned home care agency right here in the Las Vegas Valley. For them, care is both a promise and a practice with caregivers who are trained, background checked, and thoughtfully matched to each family. Touching Hearts at Home serves seniors, people living at home with medical conditions or disabilities, or anyone over the age of 18 who can benefit from the help of a professional caregiver. So head to touchinghearts.com/Henderson to set up a free consultation, or give them a call at 702-514-0908. That's 702-514-0908. And say local, and they'll walk you through what support could look like for your family. And if you mention CityCast, you'll get 15% off your first month of service. Okay, so we hit on a little bit of a housing situation there. Now let's talk about animals, although this isn't like a happy-go-lucky, feel-good story about animals. This is something where a local rescue's trying to do some good, but had some issues, right, April?
Yes. So the nonprofit organization Paws Patrol LV announced on social media that over the weekend, they were looking for an injured dog that they believe had been hit with a car and limped into some thick brush off of Hollywood Boulevard on the east side of town. You know, so they tried looking for this dog on foot with flashlights, but they said the brush was too dense for them to sort of navigate, especially at night. So they started using a thermal drone. But they say that within minutes of putting it in the sky, the drone was knocked down by some unhoused people. And then further, it was smashed and it was extra broken. You know, it was smashed.
And thrown into the water.
And thrown into the water. So not a fixable drone situation. Paws Patrol is understandably very upset about this. They say they only had one thermal drone. I looked it up. Thermal drones cost thousands of dollars typically. So they are asking supporters to donate money to help them replace it. As of us recording this, they had raised $1,273 from their Facebook post, maybe more from other avenues that they're raising money. And unfortunately, the dog in question was not found.
Yeah, no, it's sad. And like the first thing in all of this too, like obviously you feel for the situation. You hope that they find the dog at some point, although let's keep it real, at this point, it's probably not going to end well in that regard. But like the drone situation in general, it just seems like there's like a mistrust of drones in all of us. Like, it seems like it's innate, as something's flying above. Like, we recently did a podcast episode on Metro Tech, and all the drones that they have and things like that. And now I've seen them flying everywhere around my neighborhood. And every time I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, who is it,
Yeah.
So, like, I guess, I don't know, like, why do we have such a bad taste in our mouth about drones? Like, do we not realize that they could be used for good in situations like this?
I think when we hear mainly about drones, it is for this, like, police state surveillance type work. And we don't hear, like, oh, nonprofits are using this to help their mission. So I think there is a distrust of drones going around, because when you see one, you immediately think like, oh, is that a Metro drone? And that can create distrust, especially if you're seeing it like outside of your bedroom window, and not that they're looking in your bedroom window, but seeing it off into the distance.
But they could be, you don't know.
I mean,
they can surveil from far away. Yeah.
I saw a video online of a person in New York. New York has like high rises, so they had their patio door open and a drone just flew in. But that's like a lot of people have access to drones, so it's not always something that like, oh, that's a Metro drone. It could be just someone in the neighborhood flying it around. But I think even that has like a negative connotation of like people using drones. Like, what are they using it for? And I feel like I'm being spied on. Yeah. I think people go immediately there when they see a drone. So they have this bad rap.
Especially if you are someone who is homeless. That's especially where your mind's going to go, because I'm sure that those people, and I'm not justifying what they did, destroying someone's property, but they're often targeted by police, and they're subject to raids and clearing out their camps and things. So they're very wary of outsiders. So I'm sure that they were thinking that was the case.
Yeah, and not even just police, but like people being. Kind of makes me think about like people going into tunnels and taking video of the community down there, just like exhibitionists and wanting to get views online. Like even
people that don't have good interest in heart with that type of thing. Yeah.
The Facebook post that Paws Patrol put out there was really interesting. There was some good conversation in the comment section about, somebody said that they should have somebody physically out there, like on the ground with a megaphone, being like, "We're using a drone to find this dog," to try and maybe stop people from realizing, from thinking that it's something nefarious. That there may be better. There was surprisingly a lot of people who were, I thought, surprising amount of people who were. Empathetic to the homeless people who would have seen this drone encroaching in their neighborhood and looking for their stuff. So it's a good conversation. People should look it up.
Yeah, lots of back and forth in the comments for sure. I scanned it a bit, and again, I can see where the homeless people were kind of dealing with that type of thing, because again, it's shocking. Like we talked about, you don't know who it is, what they're doing. You just see drone and probably have had bad experiences with them in the past. So you're like, all right, take that thing down. But the other thing too that kind of brings to mind for me is like, okay, this organization, obviously, you noted, April, that these drones are so expensive and they're struggling to be able to afford something like that. Like, where does the funding really come from? Because also, too, like, just the pet products industry as a whole, I went and looked it up. According to the American Pet Products Association, the global pet care market is valued between $273 and $320 billion. That's globally. Here in the U.S., we're the largest single market in the global economy for pet products. It's valued at over $165 billion in annual sales. So, like, we're putting a ton of money behind our animals, pets, things like that. Why aren't people more willing to invest in organizations like this? We'll spend so much on the animals that we have, but what about like keeping the ones out there safe that get away and things like that? I think that's maybe, I don't know if it's a personal thing. People should look like, do I really need to buy, more of these toys that are going to be whatever, just sitting in the corner for the dog or whatever? Like, maybe donate some of that money to organizations like this, I
mean, I think that's a good point, Jesse. I definitely have like a crate of cat toys that my cat doesn't touch anymore after playing with them for a week and then getting sick of them. I definitely think the pet products, like the money you referenced, is, going back to those big corporations and not funneling into these nonprofits looking out for animals. And animal care is expensive. And I think that is one of the reasons why like it's so important to donate to these nonprofits, because they have really high expenses taking care of these animals and a lot of animals around the valley. But I don't know why people don't donate more to pet nonprofits or foundations. That's a great question, and maybe something like our listeners can do some soul searching about.
Yeah. Hey, and for any of you guys out there that do actually want to jump on board and help, you can go to pawspatrollv.org. But on top of that too, like we don't always want to put it on the people and things like that. I feel like this is something that, it should be, funded by the state or the city, right? Like, is that crazy to think that, because like we have like animal services and things like that. Why not invest more in more, foundations, things like this, to be able to let them afford to buy more drones when things inevitably go wrong?
It's true. Maybe the police should. Do they have a thermal drone? Metro probably has a thermal drone.
They got plenty of drones.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, Metro has a department that doesn't deal with lost pets, but I believe animal abuse. I wonder if that department has a drone. Probably not. They're probably using their drones for something else. But I mean, Animal Foundation, I believe this year got some more funding, or at least was reallocated to which department in the city oversees them. And it'll be interesting to see what their new campus will bring and look like and what impact that makes.
Definitely. We've got issues with overcrowding and things like that, that shelters that we've talked about on the podcast. Like you said, there's that new shelter coming in, and hopefully, more resources come following that. And hopefully it trickles down to organizations, like Paws Patrol LV as well.
Which is a great name for an organization. Paws
Patrol.
So good.
I'm
going on their website. I'm looking to see how much more money they need for that drone. I hope they get it.
Right? Yeah. Name alone, it's worth donating to. Step into the movies with the Neon Museum's new movie tour in the heart of Las Vegas. Take a guided walk through real neon backdrops that have lit up some of Hollywood's most memorable scenes. It's perfect for film lovers and Vegas fans who want to see the city through a cinematic lens. You can explore glittering neon landscapes that have actually appeared on the silver screen and see how Las Vegas has been portrayed in classic films and modern blockbusters over the decades. Discover how the La Concha lobby was a key setting in Martin Scorsese's 1995 film, Casino, and stand where Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone filmed their romantic evening as Ace and Ginger. You can trace even more movie history from pre-code Hollywood all the way to contemporary blockbusters to discover how Las Vegas earned its reputation as the entertainment capital of the world through film. Hear insider stories and fun trivia that bring these movie moments to life and capture unforgettable photos surrounded by the glow of real Hollywood-used neon. Join fellow cinephiles on a one-of-a-kind tour that turns the Neon Museum into your own movie set. Get your tickets today at neonmuseum.org. Now let's have a little fun here, okay? But before we do, I have a question for you, Layla and April. Would you consider a cheesesteak restaurant a steakhouse?
No.
No.
Yeah, well, apparently Yelp does, because they actually named Cheeseste Steaks, a Philadelphia cheesesteak shop, their third-ranked steakhouse in the U.S. back in 2024. And look, you have to take the Yelp rankings with a grain of salt and all these things, and we understand that. But still wild when you see it lumped in with steakhouses, okay? But in case you guys missed it, Cheeseste Steaks did actually open their first ever location outside of Philly, right here in Las Vegas over at Town Square in June. And as you can imagine, with a Yelp ranking like that, the shop has built up quite a reputation since opening their first restaurant, like I said, back in Philly in February 2024, earning praise from the Philadelphia Inquirer and racking up a devoted celebrity following too that includes Eagles running back Saquon Barkley, who actually designed his own cheesesteak on the menu. Rapper Meek Mill has one too. Both of them apparently just walked into the Philly location and became friends with the owners and loved the food. So it seemingly was an organic thing, not like a paid promotion or anything like that. And Jonathan Wright of the RJ's Neon says that what sets Cheeseste apart is their approach. They don't use a freezer, no can opener or anything like that, just fresh prime rib, filet mignon, and Wagyu beef sliced and prepared to order every day, which is the kind of cuts that you would get at a high-end steakhouse. just shaved thin and loaded into the roll. So essentially that's where you can see maybe they got lumped in with the steakhouses there. The Las Vegas location was brought here by Combat Sports announcer Todd Grisham and Philadelphia judge Scott DeClaudio, which sounds like a Philly name in its own right there. Both of them have very strong ties to Vegas, and they're already planning a second location downtown on South Commerce Street. So keep an eye out for that in the Arts District coming soon, which is great because I was thinking about it. Like, I don't really have like a cheesesteak spot in town, you know? So I was like, okay, shoot, I'm downtown. If it's coming there, like I got to give this place a try. But do you guys think with the reputation it's got, like we said, Meek Mill, Saquon Barkley, like they've drummed up enough, like, you know,
buzz,
buzz, on Yelp. Do you think that'll bleed into it here in Vegas? It sounds like they must be doing well if they're already looking at a second location.
Yeah, it sounds like they're set up for success and like clearly growing fast. I mean, if they opened their Philly shop in 2024, that's really not that long ago in terms of expanding. So they quickly impressed some people and moved here. So, but you're right. I mean, if you look at it, there's a few places around town, but there's certainly a shortage of, we specialize in just this, you know, just Philly cheesesteak. So I think it's...
Yeah, other than Pops, I really can't think of one that like specializes in cheesesteaks alone. And I do think like these big brands that come to Vegas, they unfortunately do find success most of the time. When you think about the pastrami.
The hat.
Yeah, the hat.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be around for at least a few years unless it dies down crazy amounts, because they're getting good business. And so I do think their brand recognition sometimes is all these restaurants need to succeed here.
Yeah, no, I think it is interesting. It is always funny too, though, seeing like, you know, the very like quote unquote East Coast, West Coast chains or foods and things like that. Like, it almost seems like it's like turf wars of food, you know, like on the West Coast, we have a different vibe with the food that we'll bring in here and stuff like that. Like, how much do you think that kind of plays into it? Because obviously like In-N-Out has blown up. That's a West Coast chain that has recently come to, or not recently, but that's come to Vegas and sees tons of success, you know? So like, does that factor into it? Or is it just because like the growth of our city, we've got people from everywhere. You think anything can work here no matter what it is?
I think it's a little more that. I think it's just we have so many people who are from other places or who travel from other. We have so many tourists. I mean, especially if you look at the fact that they're opening, this place is opening in town, like opened in Town Square and is going to downtown. Like, certainly those are like local heavy spots, you know what I mean? But also there's going to be a big mix of stuff. And and there's a lot of competition in both of those places. Like, there's been so many places that have come in and out of Town Square and downtown restaurants. So like they're gonna have to prove themselves, you know? Like, you think it's sometimes easy to dismiss a restaurant that comes in sort of really hot and heavy and has these like big names attached to it because you're not sure. You're like, is it low key? Everybody's just trying to make money, and is it just buzz? And does it not have staying power? But I think those two locations, they'll have to prove themselves, and their quality will have to be good to last. Definitely. I think.
Yeah, that's a great point, April. I think especially Town Square, there's been so many restaurants and businesses that have opened and closed so quickly. And we did I think it was a newsletter article on like cursed locations around Las Vegas.
That's what made me think of it.
Just cannot succeed. And so I feel like Town Square and honestly downtown, those two locations will be a proof of concept, a proof of how far their reputation carries them, and see if they can last in those locations. Yeah, no,
I'm definitely curious to see, you know, how they do, especially with two locations. You know, it's different when you have one, you add multiple into the mix. But I think the Arts District is a good spot for that. And again, there's kind of like a gap in the market for it, which will be interesting. And kind of we talked about it. We don't know of a ton of like killer cheesesteak spots around town and stuff. But like, what about sandwich spots? Like, do you guys have like your go-to spots around town for sandwiches?
Well, I do have a second place for Philly cheesesteaks in town because I live in Henderson, a bit far away from Pops. So I'm not always going there, but I love a Philly cheesesteak. I actually really like Those Guys Pies, which is a pizza shop. They have great Philly cheesesteaks. You can customize it. You can even put chicken on it. But it's a locally owned pizza shop. I don't hear a lot of people talking about Those Guys Pies. They've had a few like social media videos, but I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about them. There's 3 locations across the valley, and their Philly cheesesteaks are pretty good.
All right, I'm gonna go there because I live closer to you than Pops on the other side of town. So.
Their pizzas are good too. If you want like a pizza night, they have really great chicken tenders and like chicken fries. I'm a big fan of Those Guys Pies.
Yeah, I like, I've tried a couple times because anytime my dad comes to town, like he's like the sandwich king. He loves to just like, hey, let's go get some sandwiches. That's like his go-to. And I had struggled for a while to find like killer sandwiches in Vegas. The Proper Sandwich Company I thought was really good. That one's off of South Rainbow there. And then I always butcher this one, but it's that Italian spot over in Commons. I know that there's one down on the strip as well. All'Antico Vinao. I know I screwed that one up. But,
I'm not even trying to help it.
Yeah, they're so killer. Like I'm a sucker for a good Italian sandwich. So those are my two spots that I like to go to. Again, like the spot down at the on Commons. Anytime I'm in that area, like I can't not go and get myself an Italian sandwich.
I also really shout out to Golden Boy Market in
Yes,
Delhi.
that's one I want to try. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. My gym is right next door, and I just let me undo all of the work I just did by eating. It's so good. They're
You're
really
working
good
out
too.
so you can eat. That's
exactly.
what it is.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect little spot too if you're in Henderson.
Yeah. And I think something too, just with this whole topic, like I laugh because like I feel like in Vegas we're so good at stealing other people's skylines and things like that and bringing it here. We're stealing an iconic food from Philly with the cheesesteak in this one. Is there another like iconic restaurant, food, or dish from another city that you wish we had in Vegas? Like if you could bring that here, what would it be?
It would be for me like New Orleans food. Food from New Orleans. Like I know there's some places out there, but like some gumbo, some etouffee is my favorite. Even like a good po' boy kind of in the sandwich area.
Yeah.
Like I think we could do some. There's room for improvement here in Vegas for that market. Like I went to New Orleans and I was like, I'm going to do all of these other things, and all I did was eat for like 4 days because the food was so good, so good. So we need some more of that like Southern in general, but especially New Orleans food, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. If any of our listeners know of any of like the places that we're about to talk about, let us know. Write us in. Respond to the newsletter. Let us know where we can get good New Orleans food. But I'm going to default to my pick that I've mentioned multiple times on the podcast. I'd love to see a Waffle House in Vegas. I feel like it would be
so
fun.
Missing that. Yeah.
Yes, and it's I feel like we're missing some restaurants that are open 24 hours. And not even because I'm like out there partying, but sometimes like I'm sitting at home at 2 a.m. and I'm like, I could really go for like a good, easy diner spot or something like that. And you find those less now. Spots that are like truly open 24 hours. I feel like Waffle House in Vegas would be the perfect contender to stay open 24 hours and bring business in.
I mean, that's their whole thing is staying open all the time. And they have they've moved west, I think. They are like in Arizona or like Utah or Colorado, like one of the states that is out here. So they're coming, I think, hopefully. Maybe they'll
So come to Vegas. It's a match made in heaven down on the strip. I mean, think about it. Drunk tourists that have been gambling all day, like you go get yourself the All-Star Special. I mean, you are ready to roll. I mean,
that and Buc-ee's, honestly. Like bring those two things to Vegas and like I will be forever happy.
How there's not a Buc-ee's like somewhere along the 15 in the middle of nowhere is crazy to me. That's something that I don't know how the heck we don't have that. For me, just because my mind is on sandwiches now, I would say Bay Cities. Anybody from California knows Bay Cities very likely, or if you're a fan of the show Entourage, it seems like in every single episode of that entire series, somebody was always eating a sub sandwich from that spot. So from Bay City. So I would love to see Bay Cities here. And hopefully some of those folks are listening. Hopefully the Waffle House folks are listening because we definitely need that. We need to start a petition to make that happen, you guys. Now I'm hungry, so we need to end the show so I can go eat. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm going to go get some food.
Thanks, April. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter as well. And you guys heard Layla. We want to hear from you. Maybe it's your favorite New Orleans spot. Maybe a spot you've got in town for your favorite sandwiches, or where you know about some really good Philly cheesesteaks in town too. You can email us like we've always thrown out there, but also too, make sure that you realize you can actually call us or text us at 702-514-0719. Again, shoot us a text, give us a call, maybe to inspire us a segment, or we start throwing out your favorite spots around town. We're always down for the shout outs to find new spots that maybe we don't know about yet. And also, too, don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.